or something.
That things weren't going as well as they were saying.
I would, at this time, entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So move. And support.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Clerk, please call the roll.
You could have done that.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes? All right. My apologies to the audience, both present and virtual, for being late. Just coming out of a closed session, and I am going to call to order the regular city council meeting for the city of Grand Haven of May 16th, 2022. Clerk, would you please also call the roll for the regular meeting?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
Cummins,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
McNally.
Here. Our invocation this evening is going to be delivered by Pastor Tim Taylor from Hope Reformed Church of Grand Haven. Pastor Taylor, thank you for joining us. Would everyone please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Before I pray, can I just say that in my 13 years coming, there's only a few things that have been common. Great city, well-run meetings, and Pat. So thank you for what you've done for our city, and the pastors of Tri-Cities, thank you. Now let me pray. Father, we do thank you for this community that we get to call home. We thank you for the beauty and as we look all around. God, I thank you for the people that are part of this great community. God, I do thank you for Pat's service to this community over the past many years. And God, we do pray a blessing on him and his future. God, we pray for the decisions that are made tonight. We pray that we honor you. And God, in the midst of it all, we pray that you receive the glory. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, we need a motion to approve the consent and regular agendas.
So move. And second it.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. Pat?
I did have a couple of adjustments, Your Honor, tonight. If I could just quickly let you know what those are.
Yes.
We would like to remove from new business items D and E. Those will just be put on a future agenda. They unripened over the weekend. So if we could remove those two items from the agenda. And also, Jerry Troke from the Musical Fountain is here tonight. I had intended to put him on under presentations, but with your indulgence, I'll just give him a little extra time during call to the audience to give you a report on the Musical Fountain and what they're up to.
That sounds good to me. Everybody all right with that? I've got one item I'd like moved from the consent agenda to new business, which is item M, which has to do with the Loudet Library's Sea Shanty show or concert down at the waterfront. I got an email from John Martin asking me to make a plea for a waiver of fees, and I'd like to, it's not included on the agenda, but I'd like to shift that to new business so we can discuss that.
Ken Bear,
Okay.
given that we have a consideration of approval of the budget tonight, we have four kind of revenue generating options and one that addresses our pension costs, and they all relate to amending the budget. I don't know if there's, my understanding from the city manager that there's, this would add specific consideration to those four items would take four of us adding that to our agenda tonight. I don't know if there's interest in doing that, or if the council prefers to wait until our next meeting to consider those items. Those items being to consider short-term rental permit fees, paid parking along the waterfront areas for next summer, a voter ballot initiative for public safety, and adding an amount into our budget to account for closing and offering a conversion options on our defined benefit program.
So are you making a motion, Ryan, or do you want, I think for discussion, we should make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion then to add those to new business before the agenda item, or I'm sorry, before the budget agenda item.
Can you show me what you're looking at?
These 4 items
From the
from
manager's
the
report?
managers, yep.
All right, hang on. My general sense, frankly, is we should put these on a properly noticed agenda, so that people have an opportunity to understand they're going to be considered. So the new hires, the paid parking, the short-term rentals, and the millage vote, are those the things you're talking about?
Those 4 items to be,
Discussed
because they're
prior.
related to the agenda, or I'm sorry, the budget, I keep saying the agenda. Because they're related directly to the budget, and having, given that we're approving the budget tonight, those are all 4 items were something that were discussed, during our budget, work sessions and meetings that we've had. If there's a desire to wait, I understand that completely.
Okay.
I believe you raised them, though, because they're going to be items that we're going to end up bringing up during the approval of the budget anyway, correct? I think
I don't think the budget is dependent upon them.
some of us are concerned about elements of the budget without discussing some of these. I think I share at least some of the concerns, so.
Okay. So the motion would be to add those 4 items in what form? As resolutions to the agenda?
Correct, as resolutions that they're, the format that they're written in.
All right. Is there a second for his motion?
I'll second.
All right. Is there further discussion?
I would just ask, I guess, Mr. McGinnis, if he could elaborate a little bit. My initial thought, because these items are specifically related to our budget, was that, well, any of us could make a motion to amend the proposed budget and include what we'd like to see in the budget, but that's felt that having them as separate items were probably more appropriate. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a parliamentary issue when you do introduce the budget resolution, and if these were considerations that a majority of council wanted to have included in the budget, how do you exactly go about that? Now, all of these items could be acted on tonight or at your next meeting and have the same force of impact, whether they were adopted as part of the budget or not. But if there was a concern that somebody, well, I'm not going to vote for this budget unless it includes X, Y, or Z, then maybe that would impact their vote on the budget. I think that's what Ryan's getting at, is that he'd like to have it on the same night as the budget so that it gets dealt with tonight. But again, it could have the same impact in the, the one, and I could quickly print off copies of these resolutions. They were drafted late last week as perhaps an effort to compromise on the budget and get a unanimous vote on the budget. That, one would be, it's probably more important to focus on the closure of the defined benefit plan. I put in there to include an appropriation of sufficient funds next year to cover that cost, but as we've, as I've learned over the weekend and today, we likely have enough appropriated already in next year's budget to cover that, but having that additional $750,000 direction, it's not like it's going anywhere. It would be there and be available in case we need it to cover those costs of the conversion of employees from the defined benefit to the defined contribution plan. Paid parking was another one that was discussed during the budget preparation this year, and this resolution would direct staff to come up with a formal plan and issue an RFP for implementation of paid parking at the waterfront. So I guess that could be decided later. Do we mean waterfront just at the beach, or do we mean all the way up the river to the marina? The next one is the short-term rental, and that was a consideration to increase the fees on short-term rentals for their permitting fee. And then the final one would be the potential that now that you've closed the defined benefit plan, you've got this accelerated expense each year to be able to pay that unfunded accrued liability off. Would you present a question to the voters if they would like to increase their millage to cover public safety costs, because the lion's share of that pension is public safety cost. So those are the 4 resolutions, and they could be introduced and acted on tonight or at your next meeting. And I understand the motion on the floor right now is to add them to tonight's agenda, and it would take 4 votes to add that to tonight's agenda.
And I'm just gonna say, well, Mike, have you got anything?
Yeah, I just soon wait for the next meeting for some of the factors so that people can actually get an idea of what we're talking about too. I have to agree with you, Mayor, on that. I don't think last minute adding it on there is not a good thing. I don't think it is.
Kevin?
Even though it's worth doing, but I think having the more input and everybody have a chance to see what we're all talking about instead of just bringing it at the last minute.
Since Mike's already spoken, 3
Oh,
twos is not gonna go anyplace
Yeah,
anyway,
I
so.
mean, and that's why I wanted to hear from the council if there's interest in discussing, because they're specific to our budget tonight, but they didn't make it to,
But I think it's important
prime time.
that we do discuss it and vote on it at our next meeting. There's no reason to skip over this. This is something we absolutely have to do.
yep, so I'll withdraw my motion.
And Your Honor,
And
because it was,
Can he withdraw a motion, or do we have to act on it?
yeah, I think as long as it's on the floor, if the motioner and the seconder both agree to withdraw it, we could allow it to be.
I'll agree to withdraw.
Okay.
Now, as long as it's still kind of out there, sort of, since it was discussed at a public meeting, I'm going to print copies of this and have it available for the public if they want to see what it is, just so we've got it tonight, because everybody's probably wondering, what the heck are they talking about? So I'll make sure that that's available, and if the media asks for it, I'll make sure I get it out, so everybody's got a chance to think about it, comment on it, and show up at your next meeting if they have
And
an
it
interest.
will be properly on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Posted and noticed for next meeting. Okay. All right.
So you do still have to vote on the agenda with the 2 removals and moving the Loudoun Library Sea Shanty Show.
To new business.
Yeah, Sea Shanty Show. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it's not easy to say.
It's not easy to say. We've got to vote on it.
Mine says Inner Seas Harp and Guitar Show.
Oh,
It does,
But if you look into
It
the,
says sea shanty.
if you look into the agenda itself, you look back into the material we got, they call it the sea shanties.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the agenda with the
With changes.
2 items deleted and item M of the consent agenda moved to new business. Clerk, please call the roll.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right. At this time, we're going to make our first call to the audience. It's one of 2 opportunities during the meeting. Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers tonight. We got anyone who'd like to address council? Hi, Mac.
Hi, Mac Davis, 209 South 3rd Street. This is the easiest part. You may have more controversial issues. You may remember that a while back you requested that the Green Group at the high school prepare a report to submit to the council and city manager about things we could do together to help work on our environment in this city. I'm happy to say we have the report ready for you today. The Green Group, by the way, is actually called the Global Renewal of Earth Environment Now. but green works better, I suspect. The head of the group is here, and the faculty advisor, and a number of the students and their parents are here. I wish I could introduce all of them. Maybe at the end we'll stand up for a minute. You can really be proud. The parents can be proud of what these young adults have done. And I think when you see the report, and we brought copies for all of you, you will be proud of them too. They've really worked hard on this at a time when certain right-wing groups are trying to take over our school system, suggesting that our children, and they include people up to 18 in that term, are too weak and frail to learn about anything that might make them feel uncomfortable about race, sexuality, or any other subject. It's very good to know that we have young people, young adults, who are courageous and aren't afraid to know anything, who have looked at the future we're facing at an environment, in our environment, and have decided to find ways to act about it rather than look the other way. I'm very proud of the time that I've spent with them. I hope you will work with them. As Bogart said at the end of Casablanca, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I give you the head of the group and the faculty advisor, Aaron Portanga, and the head, Margot Friend. You're going to say a couple words, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you to all the students who
if I
came, and thank you to anyone who's brave enough to stand up and hit the microphone.
Thank you. Well, I'm Margot Friend. I'm a junior at Grand Haven High School. I'm involved in many things, and Green Club is one of my favorites. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today. I know that there aren't many opportunities for teenagers to really speak up in our community, so it's a beautiful thing that I can right now so directly to the higher-ups in our community. I really just think that this is a great opportunity for Grand Haven to be set apart in Michigan as a bit of a pioneer in sustainability. And I think the younger generations who live here would all love to see addressing these concerns, because, you know, most people who live in Grand Haven, we grow up here and we stay because it's a beautiful place to live. But to do that for future generations, Grand Haven does need to adapt, and we need to kind of hear what everyone needs to say and what everyone wants to see happen. And this is a very large group at our school, over 50 students, and I just think it would be wonderful for the council to really just take in our requests and see to it that they happen, because this is our future and this town is our future, and so we want to kind of put in something to it and get out a little as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Margot, and all the others.
Good evening. I'd like to say first thank you to the City Council for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, along with the other members of city governance. My name is Jerry Troke. I live at 11933 Juniper Hills Court, and I'm the current chair of the Grand Haven Musical Fountain Committee and acting president of Friends of the Musical Fountain, a nonprofit formed late last year to support and fundraise for the fountain. The Friends organization is similar in structure and intent to the Lighthouse Conservancy. They do the lighthouse, we do the fountain. It was modeled after their setup. Last October, committee members Andy Kaufman and Terry Stevens gave a postseason report to the City Council, and it was agreed at that time that we would make a more concerted effort to keep the council updated on our activities. Since we've just begun the 2022 season with our first two shows this past weekend, which were well attended, particularly for being a relatively short notice, we thought it would be timely to update the council once again. Pat asked me to try to keep this update to 5 minutes, so I'll try to be brief by working from my written remarks. 2022 marks the 60th year of the Musical Fountain's presence along the Grand Haven waterfront. The fountain was built in 1962 with a demonstration show conducted late in the fall before the fountain was put to bed for the winter. That means that 1963 was actually its first full season and makes 2022 the 60th year the fountain has been presenting nightly shows to the crowds along the waterfront. In honor of that 60th year, the Fountain Committee and the Friends nonprofit are cooperating on a fundraising effort that we refer to as the 60 for 60 campaign to raise funds specific to the celebration activities and fountain improvements planned for 2022, as well as to add additional monies to the permanent funds held at the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation, whose investment proceeds help support the fountain on an ongoing basis. Currently, we've raised in excess of $27,000 with in-kind donations, along with in-kind donations from sponsors of more than $35,000. So we're well along towards our goals. Our plans for this season, sort of in chronological order, include a 60th anniversary banner on the old Chinook Pier sign where the Community Foundation publicized their 50th anniversary last year. You'll also see that 60th anniversary graphic on many of the lampposts around town, as the musical fountain is part of the Downtown Development Authority's annual banner program. We'll also have an exhibit in the front window of the Tri-Cities Historical Museum for the months of June, July, and August, which will display many artifacts from the fountain to celebrate its long history here in Grand Haven. Friends has also commissioned a commemorative artwork piece by art prize winning artist Chris Laporte of Grand Rapids. If any of you saw this piece, his winning piece is called Cavalry, about 30 feet long and 8 feet high. It now hangs in the library foyer at Aquinas College, where he teaches art, if you want to get a look at it. He's doing that piece for us, and that's going to be unveiled at a private event at the Historical Museum on June 23rd, after which the artwork will be on display in the front window exhibit through August. Posters and prints of this artwork will be available to the public in return for an appropriate donation to the 60 for 60 campaign. If you happen to be interested in attending the unveiling event, please contact a Fountain Committee member or email us at info@ghfountain.org. On August 27th, we'll host a community-wide celebration that will serve as a birthday party for the fountain and help to express our gratitude for these 60 years of generous support. This event will take place at the Waterfront Stadium from 6 to 9:30 p.m. and will include balloon twisters and face painters, a magician who will conduct a magic teach-in for kids, as well as a magic show for the crowd, free cupcakes on a first-come, first-served basis as long as supplies last. Costume characters from our popular Frozen theme show will be available for most of the evening for interaction and photos with kids. A brief commemorative program, and we'll conclude with a special theme show called I Am the Fountain, during which the musical fountain will share stories and music from its 6 decades on Dewey Hill. During this special show, we'll also unveil a new water feature being designed and installed on the fountain this year that is being created by another team of engineering students from Grand Valley State, similar to what happened in 2017 with the Helix and the Wave, which have become very popular amongst viewers. Details of the new feature are currently top secret, so I'd tell you about it, but it'd have to kill you all. So. There are many other exciting things happening over the course of the summer, and I invite you to visit our new and improved website at ghfountain.org. Note the change from com to org is the new extension. We're still working on getting the old site forwarded to the new domain. But there are a lot of more details on the 60-year celebration. You can see the show schedule there on a nightly basis to find out what times we're doing and when the theme shows are. Learn more about the fountain and ways that you can help, make a donation or become a sponsor for the 60 for 60 campaign, or to reserve seating for the August 27th anniversary celebration. This new website and the platforms it's built on greatly streamline the process of donation and will also allow donors to give by simply scanning a QR code or by using text to give from their phones. So it helps us to offset what used to be brought in from the cash boxes that disappeared when the stadium was revamped, and we understand all of that. So with that, my 5 minutes is up, and I'd invite you to ask any questions if you have. Otherwise, hit our website, and we'll see you at the waterfront.
Thank you, Jerry, for your presentation. Anybody got questions? I didn't catch where the artwork's going to be displayed. Is it at the museum?
Historical Museum, the front window.
Nice.
That corner window that's normally a full of displays, that's ours for June, July, and August.
All right. I appreciate your report, and I thank you for your efforts.
Very welcome.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Tolliver. I live at 1858 Far Hills Court. I was here in March when you approved my event addressing disability, And I want to say thank you for waiving all my permit fees. My event is this weekend on Sunday, May 22nd from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. I'd like to invite the City Council and all community members to learn about and interact with differently abled students and adults. I have a flyer for each of you to bring home tonight, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Where would you like me to?
You can bring them right up here, or Ashley can take them.
Thank you.
It's at the Imagination Station, is that right? 12 to 2 Imagination Station for anyone who can attend.
Hello, I'm Renee Denslow from Bluebird Cancer Retreats. My address is you'd think I would know, I'm living in a rental, 17865 Oakwood Drive in Spring Lake, but soon to be 600 Lake Avenue in Grand Haven.
Nice.
Thank you. So I'm here on behalf of Bluebird Cancer Retreats. I'm the executive director. For those of you that don't know, we're a nonprofit right here in West Michigan. We do support for adults with cancer, and we've been in West Michigan for about 26 years. Our mission is to enhance the lives of those experiencing cancer with a variety of programs, from weekend retreats, we do a family camp, we do support groups, and a number of other things. What we're proposing tonight is a concert event at the waterfront. Like most nonprofits, we have hosted a gala for the last 25 years, and that's the way we raise money. And COVID kind of brought some new perspectives to our organization and thinking about ways we could more engage the community in our fundraising. And instead of having an exclusive event, we wanted to have a more inclusive event. And that's why we would like to come to downtown Grand Haven. So we're looking to do a waterfront concert that would have a couple of different bands, bringing in hopefully a couple thousand people to come and not only support us financially, but also become aware of what we bring to the community. The programs that we offer are 100% free for people to attend. We are 100% funded by donors. We have no grant funding. So an event like this is really important for us. The event's proposed for August 11th this summer on a Thursday evening. I think that kind of sums it up. Do you have any questions? I'll be here. Or...
Anyone questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, all. Let me introduce myself again, Kara Galbavi. I am the current chair of the DDA. My home address is 17940 Cove in Spring Lake. My business address right down here on Columbus is 128 Columbus. But again, I'm standing in part for Jeremy, who is away at a conference with Main Street America. So he'll be bringing back some goodies. That's not me.
You're good.
But again, just on behalf of the board, I wanted to come and speak with you. I'm not sure if any of you, other than Your Honor, made it to our meeting or was able to watch live on Facebook last Thursday, but we addressed some of the issues that are before you tonight, so I wanted to touch on two of them, two of which are of specific concern for us. The first being the snowmelt billing that's going to the downtown customers. And then the second is the request by the Coast Guard Festivals to suspend the social district during festival time. So on the first issue, we do strongly urge that City Council not approve and direct the billings as they currently stand, specifically regarding the interest. The interest is over $20,000, and that's not something our stakeholders, our merchants can afford. And then secondarily, Secondarily, on the Coast Guard request to suspend the social district, we reached out to the license holders who actually hold those licenses for the social district, and they are relying on the funds that they're going to be receiving during Coast Guard. It would be a financial detriment, we would know, to those businesses. So we ask that you, at this point in time, have the social district remain open. We might pivot in the future, but as of now, have it remain open. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kara. Hi, Kirsten.
Hi. Good evening. Kirsten Runschke, 1609 Pine Ridge Drive, here in Grand Haven. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Rotary Club of Grand Haven in District 6290. We have an item on your consent agenda for this evening for the Jump for Polio that we are hoping you guys support and approve. for June 25th out at the municipal airport. We'll be working with Skydive Grand Haven to make this event happen. Proceeds go to polio and helping eradicate polio. Some of you probably are well aware of polio and the detriment it's had on many people, but we are this close. We always like to say in Rotary, this close to eliminating polio. We only have a couple of countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, that still suffer with some cases. But every dollar that we raise through this event is being matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as they've always done in the past, so we're very excited about this. I'll also note that part of our event, we have a gentleman who's going to be jumping. He's 101 years old, so we're hoping to get 101 jumpers to also participate, one of which is Jeremy Swifty from our club, as you all know. So
He's 101 years old? Wow.
not quite, but you know, we hope that he does successful. We get him a parachute and he'll land and he'll live to 101. But we greatly appreciate your support this evening.
You have a 101-year-old jumper?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Has he done it before?
He has.
Okay, that's okay then.
I have a couple other fellow Rotarians in the audience this evening with me. Gernot Runschke, Kara from the Spring Lake, who's also the president right now in Spring Lake, and Pat McGinnis, so we're all here. Thank you.
Are they jumping?
I don't think any of us are signed up. We just have one.
Kirsten, I applaud the Rotary's work with the polio internationally. It's really impressive work, so thank you for coming up and pitching.
Hi, I'm Jenny Shepard Kelly. I just wanted to come to you guys and let you know that I'm running for county commissioner, and I wanted to give you guys my card and some information if you guys need to get a hold of me for any reason, yard sign issues or anything like that during the primary and on after if I win. So here's that, and if anybody has any questions for me, please just let me know, or if you want any information, just let me know, okay?
You can hand them to me and I'll pass them down if that's okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name's Jim Hagan. I'm at 400 Lake, and I'm glad that I know who's moving into 600, a couple blocks down. What I want to talk about is infrastructure problems and the opportunity that I think exists. And the theme is really fix our neighborhoods. And this focuses around what happened this past Thursday. I don't know if everybody's aware of it, but there was a major break following a fix on the water main at the intersection of 3rd and Howard. And this has been actually a problem. There's been at least 3 major floods in the last 15 years. And I just want to tell you what happened to me. I live at the corner of Lake and Howard. It happens to be, you know, it's not on Howard, except the side yard, right? So everybody thinks, oh, you know, it was a Howard thing. Well, the road's coming down to the lot. There's 12 foot of elevation difference between the intersection at 3rd and Howard and my lot. So as a result of this big break, I was really flooded. The water rose over 3 foot on my back door, which is a 3-step down. Fortunately, I had to put on a new Larson storm door last summer, so it didn't break through. If it had, all my utilities and everything would have been flooded out. As it was, about 1/3 of the basement flooded, and the drain was able to keep up with it. But my backyard was completely flooded out. It rose to 5 inches on my garage side door, flooded out everything in my garage. Basically, if you go in front of the house, you'll see there's 14 large contractor bags filled with all sorts of stuff. And I so far spent over 20 hours fixing this problem, which is caused by the city. It's been going on and on. Pat's assured me that it's been fixed now, but it's a perennial problem. There's problems with the infrastructure on Howard. There's problems with that water main that need to be fixed. Derek came back and said, well, we've got 100 backlog projects. Well, you know, with the flooding that's going on, and that district has seen very large increases in house prices, which means very large increases in the rates we're paying on our taxes. We deserve more attention than we're getting. It's a historic district. It should not be flooding out. And the opportunity, I think the opportunity for the selection committee for a new city manager, we should really question them and make sure they have a commitment to fixing our neighborhoods. You know, I've seen so much done downtown, focus on social district, focus on the riverfront. Let's fix our neighborhoods. And what does that mean? People who live in the neighborhoods want water, sewer, sidewalks, and roads. And they're in dreadful condition in a lot of the city. I know everybody says, well, we've always had 40 million in projects. Well, this is one project that should be fixed. So I would like to see the selection committee make sure that the new city manager has a commitment to fixing our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for your comments. And Jim, I'm sorry about your flood. I know it wasn't just you, but it certainly.
It keeps happening, you know, yeah, I appreciate it. You know, I'm almost 68, so 20 hours in the sun and so forth, trying to dig out all sorts of stuff is not fun.
Okay. All right. Is Ashley going to read the consent agenda for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you do that? Go ahead. Yep, hang on.
I know Mac, I know the students are probably gonna leave, but I wanna thank you for putting this whole thing together. I remember when you first came to us, and to get these students to do this is just tremendous. I wanna thank you and all the students for working on this. This is wonderful.
Thank you. All right. Clerk will read the consent agenda.
Okay. This is to approve the special and regular city council minutes of May 2nd, 2022, to approve the bills memo in the amount of $984,841.44, to accept with regret the resignation of City Clerk Kelly Beatty, to approve the appointment of Anna Darwin as interim city clerk, to approve a resolution recognizing and proclaiming the month of June 2022 as Pride Month, to approve the awarded grant in the amount of $8,000 from the William H. Young and Dorothy Young Mixer Field of Interest of the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation to cover the cost of historical and wayfinding signs, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents, to approve the following slate of 2022 summer sessions concerts: June 20, Big Head Todd and the Monsters with special guests 10,000 Maniacs. July 7th, Phil Basser with special guest Jamie O'Neill. July 14th, Spin Doctors with special guest Sister Hazel. August 18th, John Waite with special guest Ambrosia. Approve the reoccurring special event request to hold the Memorial Day Parade and ceremony on Monday, May 30th, 2022 from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. To approve the recurring special event to hold the Bolt Park Market on Wednesdays beginning June 15th through September 7th, 2022 from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and allow one food truck weekly and waive $650 in park rental fees. To approve the recurring Meet Up and Eat Up event to be held during the farmers market on Wednesdays beginning June 8th through August 10th from 11:30 to 12 p.m. To approve the recurring special event WGHN Tuesdays in the Park from June 14th through August 16th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and to authorize the closure of 4th Street and allow amplified sound. To approve the special event Rotary Jump for Polio to be held at the Grand Haven Municipal Airport on Saturday, June 25th from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. To approve the new special event, the United States Coast Guard Grand Haven Change of Command ceremony to be held on Thursday, July 14th, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Escanaba Park. And to approve the new special event, Camp Bluebird's Bluebird Flock Party Fundraiser to be held on Thursday, August 11th, 2022 from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium, and to allow amplified sound and consumption of alcohol.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So, I'll second it.
Motion by Cummins, second by Fritz. Any discussion?
I just want to really thank Gary Boyd publicly for his work to bring back the Bolt Park market, which used to be very, very popular on the east side of town, and so I'm really excited to see that coming back even on a different day. So there'll be a couple nights of opportunity to go to the market on Wednesday, and then Mr. Kalin has his concerts on Thursday nights, it sounds like still, so. And then I also just want to acknowledge it's the second year that the council will be considering a resolution recognizing and proclaiming the month of June 2022 as LGBTQ Pride Month. Last year was the first year that the council had recognized Pride Month here in Grand Haven, and if this so passes tonight, this will be the second time, and I appreciate council's commitment to supporting our LGBTQ community.
Anybody else? I wanted to acknowledge the generosity of the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation in funding signage for what will eventually be a historical marker in Mulligan's Hollow, which Wally Ewing came in to explain to us a couple meetings back, but looks like the signage, the Community Foundation will fund both the signage for that and a wayfinding sign down in the depot building that will help visitors find popular attractions. So I just thought we should acknowledge the Community Foundation's generosity because we depend upon it, among other reasons. Thank you. Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Cummins?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes.
Can we get those kids to come back and clap after every time you guys? I really like that.
All right, moving on to new business. Have we got presentations?
We don't have any tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, we're going to confirm Anna as interim clerk, but that doesn't require a swearing in or a ceremony, is that?
If you'd like to, we could embarrass her and make her be here next
Nope,
meeting.
I'm not going to embarrass her and make her be here, but
That was kind of a belt and suspenders thing. We thought since she was already appointed deputy clerk, she was likely okay, but I talked to the city attorney, he said you're probably better off making sure you just appoint her to do those duties, so any election-related things, we're all covered.
all right, that sounds good, Pat. Moving on to new business.
This is to adopt the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, including the 6-year capital plan, fee schedule, proposed millage rates, and operational budgets, and to approve the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget amendments included in the budget detail, and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Any support?
I'll second it so we can discuss.
Okay. Ryan, you want to discuss?
Okay.
Sounds like you wanted to discuss.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can, you know, we've been working at this for a little while, and my concern, I mentioned at our last meeting, you know, was that, you know, the cost to, well, at least last meeting, the thought was that the cost to close the pension plans and offer a conversion option wasn't maybe as directly as included in our budget. It sounds like, you know, staff's been kind of working over the last couple of weeks and taking a look at, you know, how we're looking for this current fiscal year, and feels that maybe we do have some cushion there and going into next year that there will maybe be some funds there. But I think overall we still have some work to do to set a sustainable path. I think we just had a closed session where we discussed labor negotiations and pensions is top of the list, and we know that closing the pensions and offering this conversion option, but closing the pensions is going to cost us more in the beginning to buy some more fiscal certainty later on and less risk as it relates to, you know, a market and the higher costs that pensions have led to over time. And my concern is that, there's things that we've discussed throughout this process and has been in staff's budget proposal, all of these things that really came up as compromise options or things that have been discussed throughout this process. I respect that in a couple of weeks we'll have a fuller discussion on those items, but just to briefly, so the community is aware of what, I think is a fair compromise of things to at least consider and vote on individually, are that we've discussed this process, short-term rental kind of permit fees to kind of cover some of the extra costs that we have from short-term rental users being using our city amenities more than maybe some of our residents even do. So there's some language in the resolution that supports why we would be looking at that. Essentially, what it would break down to would be, we have about 100 days between Memorial Day and Labor Day, so it's about $3 a day per each short-term rental in the city. So not a dramatic amount or anything like that. Second item relates to our pensions and actually setting aside specific earmarking dollars to get us through this conversion phase, and laying out that for our non-union staff, we'll be closing the plan, the DB plan, the defined benefit plan, to new hires, and those new hires would be on a defined contribution plan. So that the second resolution would do that and include that budget or that priority in our budget for next year. The third item relates to paid parking. We've had some discussion about it through this budget process, and there was interest from council in looking at a more formal plan and expenditures and revenues for beach and waterfront parking. The downtown area is something that the council is unsure about, so the resolution has language indicating why we'd want to look at paid parking, and then directing staff to work towards implementing paid parking along the beach and waterfront next summer, and then provide some formalized plans and numbers for us with an option to consider it in our downtown, as well as we continue those conversations with our Main Street folks. And then the fourth option, or fourth item, is something I'm not myself particularly completely thrilled with, but I think we should have some discussion on it, is whether or not we want to take to voters a public safety related millage amount. The resolution states 2 mills. I think there's still maybe a little work to do as far as nailing that exact number down, but that's kind of what the gist essentially of what I was thinking related to would be a more complete budget to have a number of items and a kind of for us to consider. Unfortunately, our charter requires that we have a budget approved by the third Monday in May, which happens to be today. Otherwise, if we don't approve it tonight, whatever the city manager presented will become the budget. So I'm willing to move forward with what we have today, with the agreement that we're going to, in 2 weeks, discuss each of those 4 items and have a vote on what we as a council feel on those items.
Anyone got anything else to say?
Brian covered it for me.
No, I think Pat and staff did a fine job of putting things together for us. We asked him to do things, and he did it for us, so I want to tell him thank you very much. I'm ready to move forward.
Karen?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to Emily and Pat and Ashley and all the staff for working so hard and putting this together. I know it wasn't easy. I guess based on what Ryan said and what we've, I think, agreed tonight, the direction, Pat, my understanding is that the fee schedule then isn't final. I mean, it's there, but we will be discussing some items clearly on that fee schedule. So that would either be an amendment to the existing fee schedule in the budget.
Exactly, and I'd just like to emphasize that at any time, other than the millages that you set that are really strictly controlled with public hearings and Headley caps and all that, the other things, it's always a fluid document that if you would like to see amendments, if you want to change a capital plan or a fee schedule, you can direct that anytime during the year. We just happen to really focus on it after the audit during budget prep. So it will be implemented as soon as you tell us to implement it, and I'd recommend if you do it, we make it start at the same time the budget starts, July 1st. So if you implement these things, we implement them probably for the next year, and I would think with the paid parking, we're specifically talking about 23, and I'm going to assume that the short-term rentals we're talking about 23, because those we're into the season. The closing the DB plan would be ASAP, get those resolutions in front of council and get it done, if this passes next week. And then finally, the fourth one was
Millage.
the millage, yeah, and that I would bring forward, if it passes, I would bring that millage resolution forward immediately on June 20th.
The one thing that I would just like to explain to the public, as you look at the budget, the one thing that's very difficult to see is our unfunded pension liability. One of the things, if you think about it, what you see in our budget is our annual pension expense. And so the budget, we're actually in a little worse financial condition than is kind of reflected in the budget, because we kind of have a liability that it isn't reflected kind of in the financials, other than as a footnote, and that's that unfunded pension liability of $28 million. And so the actions that we're taking and what our finance staff has done, led by Emily, is trying to help us create a plan to take care of it in chunks. And so we still have a very large outstanding liability, but we're slowly trying to first close it to new employees so that we don't incur more liabilities, and then look at how we could offer options to existing employees to convert, if they want to a defined contribution plan, and then start to chip away at that big $28 million number. So that's why we're looking so carefully at this, and that's why we have to consider all of the revenue options that are on the table, and why we're going to be focused on looking at some of the things that every revenue generation, opportunity has to be seriously considered. I believe, as the mayor mentioned at our last meeting, we've got to put everything on the table. That said, and with the understanding that we are going to move forward and address those 4 issues outlined by Councilmember Cummins, I'm comfortable with approving the agenda this evening, or approving the budget this evening.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Ritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to item B in new business. Ashley, can you help us out?
This is to direct the finance director, city treasurer, to issue fiscal year 2021-2022 snow melt billings in the total amount of $106,695.73 to the applicable downtown snow melt customers as designated on the annual snow melt billing 2022 list provided.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second, is there support for it?
Second it for discussion.
We have a motion by McLaughlin and a second by Cummins. Discussion? Pat?
I just wanted to toss something out there, Your Honor. The interest was paid by the city, and the reason we paid it was to, avoid spending an inordinate amount of time on that one issue, and we've got so many big issues pending with the Board of Light and Power. So when they asked for the interest to be paid last year, we agreed and said, well, we'll just keep track of this. This goes along with the rest of it. We know that there's an outstanding principal amount in about $1 million, so paying this $21,000 or $22,000 in interest seemed like a prudent thing to do to just kind of keep the ball rolling, and the BLP did take a leap of faith by setting up this system. Now, they did do it unilaterally and made this investment in anticipation of another project happening out there that didn't happen. So we wind up with this need to have a full discussion about what happens with that expense. So I just wanted you to know where that came from and why we paid it. And our intention would be to include it in the cost of running snowmelt, which based on convention, we pay 25%, and the owners of the businesses up and down Washington pay 75%. Since Thursday, when this was voted on at the DDA, I did have someone propose the idea. I don't know if I want to give credit or not. It's up to them. 50-50 maybe. We do 25-75 on the rest of the bill and 50-50 on the interest, or some other cost share that you feel is more equitable. But the DDA was very clear that they didn't think we ought to pass that interest expense on to the end user at this time. Still continue to try to reckon that out with the BLP as part of the overall package. So it's already paid. We could pull it off this spreadsheet, and you've got the spreadsheet with all the amounts that each business would be charged under this proposed assessment. And I shouldn't call it an assessment, it's actually a utility bill. We bill it like we do a water or sewer utility. So I just wanted to kind of frame the discussion real quick for you.
Does that raise anything for anyone?
I guess
And we've already paid it.
we've paid it though out of, I actually empathize with the Main Street DDA and all we paid it as a way of working with the BLP on some of this. I'm just not sure. I think I agree with them that we shouldn't pass it on to them at this time, the 20,000 interest.
Anybody else got anything to say? I guess here's what I would say, for what it's worth. I think it is a cost of the snow melt system that's legitimately attributable to the users. However, I would say, based on my observations of what goes on downtown all winter, it's certainly not just the merchants who benefit from the use of the snow melt. So I'd be open. Pat said, someone said maybe split it 50-50, and that was something I recommended we discuss tonight, or at least consider tonight in this meeting, because I do think the broader community gets significant benefit from the snow melt that's not necessarily attributable to the merchants or the Main Street owners and operators. So, Pat or Mike?
Yeah,
Okay.
snow melt. My nemesis from day one. I think it started out many years ago when they first came to us with it. I think I was the one that said, no, it's going to cost us in the long run. And
you'd be right.
And so, but the thing of it is a cost right now. The citizens of Grand Haven are paying 25% of it as already. And to go even less, I hate to say this to them, but the merchants came to us and convinced council that was a good idea to do at that time. Yeah, because the whole theory was free heat.
Waste heat.
Yep,
Yeah.
from our power plant, which no longer have, which now is coming to cost us a fortune, and it's only going to get higher. But we have millions of dollars stuck into it. Someone's got to pay for it, and the agreement was 75-25. That's what we came up with, and it's been that way for a few years now. So I'm not willing to go less. I mean, that's part of doing business, and that's part of, like when I have my business, I have to pay. I got 2 booths that run over 2 million BTUs or better, and I got gas pipe. That's a 5-inch gas pipe comes in there, and the bill goes up. I got to pay it, and that's what it is.
Okay.
It's part of it.
Anybody else? And where does that leave us?
Well, I mean,
Ryan?
I don't know if if you're saying we're going to pass along the interest, in the same way that we figured out, hey, what was the city saving? 75-25. Are you saying you're going to do the same for the entire capital cost? Are we making that kind of a commitment tonight? I'd rather sit down and have some further discussions with our Main Street folks. And honestly, I still believe that there's a case to be made for BLP to be a participant in this. And so if we're passing along the interest, it's interest on the overarching overarching amount of dollars that had to be borrowed to take care of it. I'd rather have it all be a part of one discussion versus, bits and pieces here and saying we're doing it with this basis, 50/50. Are we saying we're going to charge 50% of the, the initial capital costs, the $1 million to them as well? I mean, I think we have more work to do on this, and quite frankly, we've kind of kept putting this off, and and it doesn't go away. And when the council approved this, accepting the interest charge, I was against it, but council felt that we should do it. I felt that we should go back and more explicitly ask the BLP to be a participant. Their board right before the election voted, I think it was 4-1, that they didn't want to be or didn't feel like they should be a participant in snow melt. I respect that, and their new board hasn't taken that up. But long story short, I'm not ready to pass along this interest cost yet. We need to sit down and work it out. We keep dragging our feet on it, and we can't drag it anymore, but I don't think we're ready to pass along the interest.
All right, so Pat, you got something?
Well, I know, I'm wondering, what you think we should pass the interest cost along, or we should hold off on that?
Hold off.
Okay. 'Cause I've heard
Karen say,
That's what I agree with Councilmember Cummins. I don't feel that just because this has been passed by the BLP to us, I mean, I don't believe that was really quite, fair. Why would we burden our Main Street merchants with this additional cost? I think we should just, stay to the original agreement of $25.75, but exclude the interest costs until we can deal with it down the road.
all right, so there's a motion on the floor that we pass it along to the merchants.
correct.
We can amend that motion or vote on that motion and then make a different motion.
Exactly.
Is that, all right, so.
One way or the other, or you could vote on it, and if it doesn't pass, somebody could make a different motion. So any of those ways would work.
Say again?
But somebody could make an amendment, make a motion to amend the resolution that's
Existing
on the
one.
floor
Okay.
to pull those interest costs out of the spreadsheet and only pass along, so it would be the, boy, I don't have the spreadsheet live, but it's 21,921.08, so it could be, Emily could easily crank out that spreadsheet tomorrow and come up with a new total for everybody and send it out like that, so that could be the proposed amendment.
Kevin,
I'll make that amendment.
okay, so
I'll second that.
your amended motion is to to send out the bills for snow melt to the merchants without including the interest costs.
Charged by the BLP, yeah.
But from,
So where is the $21,000 coming out of?
For now, it's just been taken out of our general fund balance.
And then we're all talking about how bad we are here. You guys keep bringing up how bad the city is, and now you're talking about giving away
Nobody's saying
$21,000.
long-term we're giving away $21,000, we're saying that it's part of a greater discussion
A bigger
about the whole
discussion.
cost, and so nobody's saying we're paying this today, nobody's making that commitment,
But you are saying we are such a dire straits, but,
and we,
and we're
Not
not gonna
passing
be
it on.
paid for it.
No, it's not.
It's not part of the billing.
all right,
that we're gonna have a discussion, we're not agreeing to pay for it tonight, I mean,
we've already paid for it,
we've
Ryan,
paid
so
for
the
it.
question
Already
is
paid
but
for
I'm
it.
not saying that we're agreeing to never pass along the cost,
We're saying not yet, because this is part of a bigger discussion
Right.
about BLP
Comes
costs.
up as a discussion, because it needs to be done, it has to be
Yeah.
paid.
All right,
Agree.
so the amended motion is pass along to the merchants for now the cost of snow melt minus the BLP interest charges.
Correct.
And that was made by McLaughlin, seconded by Lowe. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right,
As long as we bring it up, as long as it gets back on the
Ashley, would
agenda
you
for us
call
to
the
take care of.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes,
McNally.
yes.
So now it's amended, but now we have to actually vote on it.
yep.
All right, so now we
amended.
vote on the original motion,
No.
As amended.
as amended, which I think we all understand at this point. Ashley, call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to item C.
This is to approve the recurring special event 2022 Coast Guard Festival from Friday, July 29th through Saturday, August 6th, 2022, as outlined in the attached memo.
All right, and as outlined in the attached memo includes, is this where we're considering, Pat, the closure of the social district for that period of time?
I don't know if it's in that memo.
Yes.
I think
It
it
is.
is.
It's in
Yeah,
Shaw's
it is.
memo.
Yep.
Is.
Can we,
Then yes.
Okay, thanks.
get a-
All right,
Good answer.
I'll make a motion for discussion purposes.
okay. Any support?
I'll second it.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz.
I guess from my standpoint, you know, we have as far as the social district is concerned, there's no question that the DDA is not in favor of it. The restaurants that are mostly affected is not in favor of it. Our police chief has come out and said that it's not gonna, he doesn't see any problem from a safety issue. I won't support this if the social district is suspended. I really believe that we have done, I think from city council standpoint, we took our food trucks that we had given 5 or 6 food trucks to be able to use the Chinook Pier area, and now they can't do that. I realize they're getting some money for that, but it's still more of a expansion of the whole Coast Guard festival, and I really believe that we have done more than enough, and I really believe that from this standpoint that we should not suspend the social district. That's it.
So are you proposing to amend it?
How about we discuss it first
Yeah,
and
then
then?
we'll figure out how to
Yeah.
do it.
Mike, you got anything?
I want to commend the guys on Coast Guard Festival, Inc., to what a fine job they do for us in bringing our town to attention in nationwide, not just statewide, but nationwide also, and also the support for the Coast Guard himself. And far as the food trucks, they used that area last year. We encroached on them by letting it out ourselves. You know, they used that area. They had their carnival and stuff in that area, so. And they made the appropriate thing doing. They worked with the tenants there and said, hey, we'll help you out, so. But after reading what Chief Hawk was saying, I too would like to see maybe, our police department said it would be fine. And I don't think it's detrimental to the Coast Guard itself, the festival itself, is what the chief was saying, so, but I don't like saying that we're giving up things. We put those food trucks there, and was a discussion that we talked about the Coast Guard at the time. You know, so, yeah, but, so anyways, but they did the right thing by doing what they did, so I want to say thank you to them for that, working with the tenants, like I said, and moving forward with it.
Karen?
Yeah, after, our understanding is that Chief Hawk did not see this as a problem, and given the fact that where you're going to have your alcohol is completely different than the social district, and they are separated, I don't think it's going to impact your sales, because people would not be able to wander, even if purchasing there. I think they're still going to be independent, given that there is no additional problems according to our Department of Public Safety. I'm inclined also to say to not close the social district during Coast Guard Fest.
Ryan?
I guess I'm not clear that this memo was even changed from when we had our work session, and I thought staff were still working on some of these items. So we gonna get an update on what changed, what discussions occurred? Because I'm not seeing that fancy the administration's recommending approval necessarily on this. So I want to know kind of what staff's concerns still are, if they've had the discussions to work out some of these things. I know closing Columbus, part of Columbus was discussed, and is that all worked out?
Is that worked out, Mike?
Well, we worked it out. In the memo, it does state that Columbus not be closed. If you look at the very end of the memo, there are 5 bullet points that tried to clarify that, I think. Towards the very end of the memo there, it sort of gives a bit of a summary. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for.
Okay. And I know there was some work being done on the
they were going to
Pier area on a kind of a package deal. Is that piece all set, or?
Yeah, they settled that out as we had hoped, and agreed to a splitting up that parking lot where some of it would still be available for public parking. A chunk of it would be used by the Coast Guard to accommodate some of their sponsors and guests, and then another section for the charter fishermen. And then the Coast Guard is going to use the grassy area. They're going to make some use of that and have some additional vendors along the edge of it, where our 5 vendors will be sitting most of the summer. And then the Columbus would be limited access. It would be local traffic only, but public safety really wants to keep it open because that eliminates it as a gathering spot. He's worried about having streets closed down because the kids kind of tend to come in, and then it's hard to cite them for just being in an area that's closed. But if it's a street and it's open to local traffic, we can ask them to get off the street and move along on the sidewalks to not impede traffic.
One other thing, at the first presentation, the whole fee schedule is supposed to be bundled. Has that been presented, and what is that?
Well, typically we bill them for what is used, and it's usually a bit of a negotiation. We send a bill and say, here's what the things cost and here's the fee. That has not been settled up front. That's just something, and often it's we like to remain flexible because we're not sure what is going to happen. There's sometimes some alterations as it gets close, and some real-time needs that we need to fulfill, and then DPW usually.
But Pat, I thought the Coast Guard was going to present something to you. Maybe I misunderstood what Mike had said, but I thought he said he was going to.
No, actually, the discussion is still real, and they want to see sort of how much we're going to use. We're in negotiation to use maybe the depot and number of chairs, et cetera, but we're not there yet, and the city has agreed to continue the dialogue, so we're very comfortable with that, and we're going to try to bundle where we can, number of days, and throw in things that the city has on site already, and then see what we use and how it goes. We're very comfortable with that. So you're not seeing the final line yet, but the concept is real, and we work well with the city on that. Let me say the other thing about the social district. We're a fan of the social district. The Grand Haven Coast Guard Festival is a fan. Okay, but when that was approved, it said any event or organization that has something going on can request it be closed. And we were going off, the reason we had to move off Washington Street was public safety said they didn't want any groups gathering between Harbor and Second. Okay, so we moved to a private property and paying big bucks for that. And now we've created something that does exactly that. I mean, and then there's going to be extra garbage. You know what? We work with the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Public Works. If they're saying it's good to go, we're okay. I mean, again, we're friends and fans of the social district, and we want to survive and thrive. We just don't want there to be unclarity as it comes to, oh, the festival caused this, or they were down here. We don't have the police. We're not going to be doing that.
I'd like to say something, if I could, which I live immediately outside of downtown, and I am intimately familiar with the volume of visitors that come during Coast Guard Festival and the nature, the different kinds of people who come in. And I will tell you that it creates danger downtown. Now, does the open receptacles sold by the merchants down there add to that? I can't say that it does, but what I would say is there's already, in many cases, if we're not careful, a combustible mix of people. And I agree with what Mike is saying, which is that first block of Washington that we've opened up to encourage people to gather, combined with the crowds that are coming in for this group and who those crowds are, is likely to cause issues. I sent a note back to John O'Connor today to tell him I supported closing the social district. And what I said was, he was saying, please don't punish us. I think, frankly, we've bent over backwards for the bars and restaurants in this town by opening that area up, and particularly for the ones in the first block, all right? And I think, frankly, we've done it at the expense of some of their neighbors who are merchants. And I think that we really need to think about how we find flexibility in doing this to promote community. And I think the Coast Guard Festival has been an integral part of this community's summer for, I don't know, 50 years, Mike?
98.
98,
This
okay,
year.
I'm not that old. 22 years, so...
98 years, I think.
Oh, 98 years?
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
Yes. 8
Okay.
years.
So I can't explain it to you, but I've watched it every year, and I've snatched my nieces and nephews out of crowds where it's not good for them to be, and more alcohol or open alcohol in that area isn't a good idea. And that's what I think.
Oh,
Can I-
we're
can I ask a-
partners. We're partners. We want to continue to work with the city and our partners in the DDA. So maybe this year's the social experiment. If public safety is saying, go for it, and they can control it, then certainly we're okay with that.
I think we have a couple different variables here, and I just want to make sure we're talking the social district.
That's the
We're
whole
talking
district.
about, that's the whole district. The second thing is the closure between Harbor and First that we voted on that's the experiment that we agreed to do. And then the third is we've moved Coast Guard Fest from being up and down Washington to being in a different location. And so I don't know that we can look to the past necessarily to be, I think we've got to take a look at all of these different things. And I believe that's probably why Chief Hawk said, well, gee, some of this stuff has been made in some respects safer and less, less volatile in terms of managing crowds down our main street. What I guess one of the benefits to these retailers is of having Coast Guard Fest is the attraction of those guests, and I think their participation in the social district. I understand why they want that, to continue. So I guess before we throw the baby out with the bathwater, Your Honor, I wondered if, is there another solution in between there where we'd suspend the blockade of, or I don't know, the First Street experiment for the Coast Guard, Fest, or some other combination that can make all parties happy or address your concerns. I just throw that out there.
I share some of the mayor's concerns on this, and I wish Chief Hawk was here to kind of elaborate a little bit on it. It was a one-liner or two-liner statement.
It wasn't much.
It wasn't much, and the reason why I have more questions is because the social district rules state that the governing body shall maintain the commons area in a manner that protects the health and safety of the community. So we're responsible for our social district and our commons area that we set. And my concern is more so with alcohol, spilling outside of our social district, and how do we maintain those actual boundaries. I'm not so much concerned about the folks that are within it, especially on a Saturday night when that intersection's closed and folks are not going to see those two signs on the poles, and they're going to grab their drink and they're going to get that nice fancy they're gonna go grab a few drinks and go sit down on their blanket for the fireworks. And I'm concerned that that boundary is gonna be, those boundaries are gonna be an issue. Or I know you've mentioned with the boundary with the carnival sides of the street, and that, you know, how is one going to be differentiated from the other is a challenge. And
We're gonna learn a lot.
well, I appreciate the festival wants to learn, but us as a governing body, we have some responsibilities to make sure that we're doing it right and we don't lose our social district privileges. And so I know my colleagues in Muskegon have experienced some festivals and events with social districts, and the way they did it was, okay, they realized that there was extra crowds and they're going to have to hire more folks to enforce those boundaries. And so they hired security to walk those boundaries or beyond those boundaries to really, and they put extra signage out and sandwich board signs that say no alcohol beyond these points as well. But they had a special, for special events, had a different sticker that they put on the cups that costs the restaurants and bar owners more because there was increased costs to the social district, right? They had to hire the security. They had to pay for that somehow. And so they said, all right, well, that's fine. We're going to keep our social district in place, but we're going to pass those costs along because that's the cost of operating the social district. And for us to maintain it in a way that we feel like, you know, so now if the chief, for whatever reason, says that he doesn't believe that the extra crowds down there and that we're not going to have alcohol spilling over outside of those common area boundaries, and he feels that he's got sufficient staffing and officers to do that, or maybe there's a certain cutoff time that you know, especially on that Saturday, I think it's the biggest one, fireworks day. That's the day that probably concerns me the most. But I guess I want to hear a little bit more from the chief on this. I guess it's just me.
I have to, after listening to the mayor here and listening to it and saying that, just personal experience of being down there when they used to be on the corner of First Street there before we opened the road up and they had to drive through. But now we're going to close off the whole area. You're absolutely correct. You're going to have a congregation area for it. It's supposed to be family friendly, but during that time, you're going to end up with another place for them all to hang out and congregate by leaving that closed, that whole street closed during that time period. It's just a place that they'd go to. They're young adults and they have high testosterone and they have a good time. And if you ever been down there sometime, it's like a mosh pit, you know. You didn't want to bring.
I don't know what a mosh pit is, but I'm pretty sure I would like to be.
You don't want to bring your young child down through there. If you're supposed to be family friendly, it's not going to be. Yes, Pat.
I just wanted to comment a couple things on something Karen had mentioned that were, you know, kind of confusing the social district with the area between First and Harbor. That is going to be opened, and we'll park squad cars right along there, just like we did last year.
Stop for a second and I don't understand what open means. You're going to have the street open?
Yes, but you know, we're going to get the picnic tables out of there. It's not going to be used as a gathering area during that peak time, is what I've been told by public safety, that we will, and that's what we did last year, is we staged a row of public safety vehicles, sheriff's cars and city public safety vehicles, and probably a couple state trooper cars lined up there instead of, and it gives a certain impression of security and control. That was Saturday. Now, it's likely that they would want to do the same thing on Friday during those peak times to not have that open zone there, or that, I guess, closed zone between Washington and Harbor. You know, we'll clear that out during that peak time of festival and either let it be used for through traffic or just use it not as open gathering space, but as a place to park some police cars. I think probably on Friday night they'd want to do that too. You know, we'll see how that goes because it does start becoming to be a problem, you know, with the gathering throngs of youth. Now, the statement that I made was that the chief doesn't see added security risk because of this. He didn't say there's no security risk. There are tens of thousands of people, many of whom have had too much to drink, and that's every year. That's not whether there's a social district or not. I think what he's saying is having the ability to have one of these cups with a clear sticker on it, those are the compliers. You know, those are the people that are buying the beer, the wine, or the alcohol, and drinking it legally in the social district out of a defined cup. The ones that are probably not doing that are maybe the ones that are overdoing it and that are maybe getting it out of their trunk or off their boat or at the keg down the street. You know, that's or in the bars. You know, they're in our bars. They can get all the. I don't know that access to alcohol is a.
Or they're getting the cups out of the trash cans and they're reusing them, which is going on,
You-
or they're buying one cup and going into Fortino's and getting a six-pack and refilling. I'm okay with, I know how I want to vote, and it doesn't sound like I'm very convincing on this, but I think we should shut the social district down. That's what I think.
Yeah, but the social district is the whole area with the sidewalks and the street when it's closed. If the street's not closed, it's not part of the social district. So if we take those barricades down and open it, even if it's open for squad cars, that's not gonna be part of the social district. Now you're back on the
One
sidewalks.
lane will be open, Pat, on that first block?
I think that's where they'll park the squad cars, yeah.
Because the restaurants are going to have summer-long seating in the street.
Yeah, and we won't have the barricades there, so I don't think it'll be open to traffic, but it would be open where the squad cars could pull and stage there during the peak periods.
Well, squad cars can be a deterrent, I would admit to that, so. Mike, what are you?
So our big deal is, we just didn't want the Coast Guard Festival banner over something we didn't create. We were trying to avoid the association with this new experiment. Again, we're a fan, I'm a fan of this social district, the festival is a fan of the social district, but in the clause, when you approve the social district, you can ask not to have it, and we did.
And you did.
And you did.
Okay.
And I appreciate your consideration on so many other things that you have and that we've worked through. So thank you very much for that. We're looking forward to an exciting and safe festival for everyone.
Well, I'm just gonna add to it. If, talking about social district and alcohol and stuff like that, just come down my street during Coast Guard time, and I'll tell you what, there's probably everybody walking around with a can of beer. It's
If their
common.
last name is Smith, send them home, please.
Yeah, but no, I've had issues all my life there, ever since Coast Guard, but it's, I grew up with it, so it's not a problem as far as that goes. I mean, there is a problem, yes, when they come over and they go between my house and decide they didn't want to go over to the corner to use the restroom, or if they want to come up and pass out on my front porch. It's nothing to do with the social district, so
Okay.
alcohol's gonna be here anyways.
Okay, I guess at this point, if we don't have a final plan, do we have something we're voting on? And if we do, then it sounds like there's a majority who would like to amend what we're voting on to support the DDA's request to leave the social district open. Is that where we are?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay. So approve the, all right, let's see here. So we're going to approve the recurring special event 2022 Coast Guard Festival from Friday, July 29th through Saturday, August 6th, as outlined in the attached memo, with the exception of the social district will be permitted to remain open throughout the event. Is that,
Yeah.
is that your?
Yes, that'd be great, thank you.
So Kevin's making that motion. Is there a second?
Would you like to further amend it?
Is there something else we should do?
Of
You don't,
concern?
you want to withhold approval? Go ahead.
Well, I'm fine with considering the social district remain open. I just want to see more of a plan for how we're going to maintain this health and safety of this, the commons area of our social districts during this festival, to make sure that, I understand, Mr. Fritz is correct, there's a lot of alcohol that folks are using all over the place, but we have some responsibility to what is sold within our district to make sure it doesn't leave that area, or at least
Add on, hey, if we add on to it with recommendations and, follow-up from Chief Hawk on this also, we can just keep moving forward on it at least, and have him get back to us and leave that part there with recommendations and follow-up from Chief Hawk.
So if I may add, excuse me, Sharon Beam, 214 Washington. I'm the chair of the Coast Guard Festival. I'm also a DDA board member. One of the things that we talked about last Thursday, and Mayor McNally, I appreciate everything that you said and everyone's concern. We actually are kind of forgetting that we do have a trial run before Coast Guard Festival. That's 4th of July. So being a retailer downtown, I also see what happens during 4th of July. Before we had the social district, I think that's going to be your gauge. Let's see how that plays out, and that may be what Chief Hawk was thinking too. You know, understand that, as Mike said, the reason why Coast Guard Festival was requesting it being closed was truly in respect to DPW and public safety. It was a real eye-opener for a lot of the board members last year when we sat and watched those videos when we were debating whether or not the carnival was going to be able to stay on Washington or why it needed to be moved. A lot of us on the board needed to see the why. If you've never seen those videos, I recommend you ask Chief Hawk to show them to you. That was our concern. Do we enjoy the social district? Do we take part in the social district personally? Absolutely. Do the neighbors in the retailers in the first block have some struggles with it? They do. The DDA is aware of it, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to move forward. But I really encourage you, don't not approve this event for tonight, because we can't move forward until we get the approval. You can come back and revisit the social district. You guys are the boss. You can say, you know, we had a situation on the 4th of July. It's not going to work, or 4th of July was great. We're just going to move forward with it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. I would say also from my personal observation that 4th of July is a relatively small dry run compared to the festival crowds. It's a good start, but it's probably not equivalent. Pardon? Well, right, probably not at the beach, but definitely downtown. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Okay. So Kevin has
I had made a motion.
made a motion. Did Mike second it?
No, I think Mike wanted to add to it,
Mike wanted to add.
based on what Ryan said. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Ryan,
I'm okay with that.
Ryan was concerned about, Chief Hawks and that, but come to light with what Sharon just said, we have to at least listen to the police chief, and that's what he does. That's his forte. It's not us.
Can I ask, what's the urgency in doing this tonight? I mean, do we have to make that, can we approve it without consideration of your request to close the, social district and put that off until we can follow up, but then you have the go-ahead on everything else that you need?
Yes, we can do that.
Could we do something like that? Because that's what I would like to do.
So we didn't get a second yet. Yes, Pat?
Yeah, just to, kick it back to public safety and say, public safety, if you think we ought to be thinking about closing it as you get through Memorial Day and 4th of July and some of these other events, and if they decide, I think it probably is a good idea to close it down, you can do that at any meeting between now and August.
Right.
And I did get a text from Jeff, we've been talking, so apparently he's listening on Facebook. Thank you, Chief. They will, in fact, park the squads in the angle spots and the lane Friday and Saturday night. So just to deter that big crowd gathering in that open area that will be open otherwise all summer long. But I think that's a good idea. You could approve it tonight with the social district, the intent that the social district will stay open. Should it look like that's not going to be very manageable, I think public safety, and I believe that public safety could close at any time they felt like it was not functioning well. They could just say, this thing's closed.
I'm positive.
I'm pretty sure. Right.
And then everybody will stop drinking.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll withdraw my motion, and then Karen can make the motion to approve minus the social district, right?
I think there was a
Approve as
motion on
is.
the floor initially just to approve their
Approve
full
as
event.
is.
Proves that as is.
Right?
So there's a motion to approve it as is, which would be close the social district.
So I want to make a motion to approve with pulling out the request to close the district for consideration at a later time.
The social
And,
district.
yeah,
That would technically be an amendment to the motion that you'd vote on, and then you'd vote on the motion.
right, so I'll make that motion. I just need a second.
Second.
Got that?
Motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin. So we need to, any further discussion?
So it excludes closing the social district.
Yes, it approves, it
Everything but
approves
the
The
social
event.
district.
the event.
Without mention, actually, of the,
Request to close.
without a request to close
Handle separate,
the social district.
which will be handled separately.
Right.
Yeah, I guess my only comment on that would be, I understand the motion, and, you know, at some point, though, I think we need to provide some firm decision-making, and part of it may be an issue that we don't know how it's gonna go on maybe like July 4th or something like that, but, you know, our businesses are gonna wanna buy cups and prepare and know what their staffing looks like and all those types of things by a certain point, and I'd hate to.
How about we ask Pat to have Chief Hawk come talk to us, and we put this on that specific issue, the Social District and Coast Guard Festival, on the agenda for.
Or even just in general. I think the point is that it's gonna affect other events too. I think in general, maybe we need to have a
With
discussion
events.
about larger events that are affecting, you know, like even 4th of July. I think it'd be good to know what the plan would be to make sure that.
Can you arrange that for next city council meeting?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, I think that's good. Kara, did you have something you want to add?
Only real quickly, and it was maybe to calm some concerns, but we on the DDA and our merchants, our license holders for the social district, understand that this is a fluid thing for the summer. It hasn't been tested yet, and so if Chief Hawk or Department of Public Safety think as time goes on that it's something that we need to change, we know that, we're understanding of that, but like I said, at this point, we would like that request to be removed. So I just wanted to let you know that up front, that that's where the DDA stands. So, and we will be continuing these conversations, and we've talked to some retailers about other considerations regarding caps and tops for the cups or better signage. So the conversations are continuing.
Thank you. All right, we have an amended motion on the floor. We have to vote whether to allow the motion to be amended. Would you call the roll, please?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. And now we have to vote on the amended motion. Would you please call the roll?
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay.
Mayor, if I could,
Yes, Mike.
now that we're friends again and you approved it. The first pin.
Oh my gosh, how
Yeah, perfect.
exciting.
Thanks, Mike.
And again, thank you.
I'll wear it
for
with
your
pride.
cooperation.
Got them all. 19 years.
Yep, that's what we're gonna go by.
Absolutely. Stand by
Okay.
this decision.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
That is a cool one. I love that.
Yeah.
All of North America. You got Mexico on here.
It's what's keeping the Great Lakes great, isn't that it?
It's saluting the men and women who keep the lakes great and the 60th anniversary of the Canadian Coast Guard.
Oh, very nice. Okay. We like the swag, I have to say. All right, that's down. Okay, I think we're on, Ashley, to item
beat
F,
that.
if I'm following this.
Correct.
Oh, D and E off. Oh, okay.
This is to commit to generating needed revenue up to $950,000 to match a $950,000 application for a revitalization and placemaking grant from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for improvements to the Grand Trunk Depot, including possible appropriations of public funds in the 2024-2026 city fiscal year.
All right, can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved?
Second?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Discussion.
Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
I would be happy to if you'd like. I could, you know, and I don't know if we can open the packet and show the drawings, or I could. The depot is an asset that's, oh boy, I wrote it down in the memo, 1870, I think is when it was built.
1870.
So it's one of our older, still standing buildings in town. And been a lot of discussion about this, but at this point, there is a state of Michigan grant opportunity. And what we're proposing is to maintain those tenants in those spaces that are down there and convert the space that was used for the Momentum Center into green room, VIP services, and a little stadium support. And this is a conceptual idea. It's not necessarily the final plan, but what we're trying to do is leverage half the cost of renovating that building to do it properly. And we got quotes from Progressive AE. They went through and detailed everything, and it was about 1.8, a little over 1.8 million. So I'm thinking by the time we get around to the project, it'll probably be 1.9 million. And this is redoing the roof, the foundation, the mechanical, structural issues, all the HVAC, all the electric, plumbing. Really get in there and do a top to bottom renovation of the building that it needs. It's had deferred maintenance. It's a 152-year-old building. My God. So it really needs it, and if you want to keep the building there, sooner or later you're going to have to pay the piper and do a big renovation project or preservation project. This would create a very permanent historical asset right on our waterfront, owned by the city. And if you want to scroll through a couple slides just to give an idea what the back of it could look like with the Beignet Cafe on the back, you could have a little area out back where you could put tables and chairs, and keep scrolling down. You'd still have the area for the bleachers out there, and you can see the building essentially remains the same, and then keep going. That's the little
one where you get the beignets out.
Yeah.
The cafe au lait.
Yeah, it looks just
very,
like those. Yeah, we'll have to serve beignets to the mayor out there. She's made that clear. So this is just a shot. If you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, if we can get half the money to do this from a state grant, we raise other funds through DDA sources, through philanthropic work. I think if we got the grant, we immediately start up a Save the Depot committee to come up with that extra $950,000. So, because you don't have it in your general fund, I know that, you know that, but we still need to say today, yep, we'll make the match happen, because they don't want to give money to a project that's not going to come up with that other 50%. So they do need our commitment that we're going to create that revenue. Bob Warren got volunteered at the DDA meeting to be our chairperson, so he'll be chairing that.
He did volunteer, but I don't think he necessarily accepted. Correct.
Well, we'll have a committee put together in short order if this gets approved. I got to finish up the grant paperwork, and this is a necessary component of that. I am working on getting letters of support, so if any of you have any contacts with other agencies or entities that you'd like to ask for a letter of support, those really help with the grant application. But we'll get that in. It'll be a very strong application. It's going to be very competitive going after this money. So to ask for nearly $1 million for an historic building is a pretty audacious ask, but I want to make the ask. I'd feel bad if we didn't at least take a shot at it.
Right, I'd like to make a few statements. I actually sat on Pat's Depot committee for a little bit, anyway, where we looked at different uses for the building, but one of the important things here is that this is a historical asset that we had. It was built in 1869, 1870, Your Honor. It is a state of Michigan registered historical site. It is also has local historic designation, which was done at the time in 1972 when it was first created as a museum. It also anchors our Grand Haven Central Historic District, which is on the National Register. It's one of the most significant early and an important transportation structure. From Wally Ewing, built in 1870, the Grand Trunk Depot was designed in the Italianate style. Its architecturally significant features include the semicircular arched windows and regularly spaced brick pilasters. The large and decorative brackets that are supported wide overhanging eaves are also typical of the Italianate structure. It's a very valuable architectural and historical building for our community. One of the issues that we've had is the flooding, even the current tenants, the flooding in the basement of the building and the lack of the funds to correct the foundational problems permanently. So I fully support all of this in terms of taking care of the Grand Trunk Depot building. By the way, the city of Grand Haven bought the depot building from Grand Trunk in 1967 for just $66,000, $50,000 of which was a grant from the Laudit Foundation. I feel like we have a responsibility to those who donated for us to have this wonderful asset, to take care of it, and so I applaud the effort by the city administration to go after this grant, as well as additional matching funds.
Okay, thanks. Ryan, anything? No. Gentlemen?
All I gotta say is that if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's best for us to go out there and ask for it. And nothing, another word is, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
And Pat, if we ask, get, and can't match, what happens?
Well, you know, we would eventually be presented, if we are awarded, we would be presented with a grant agreement that we would sign, and we would commit to that match. Now, in the event you're not able to pull it off and you just can't do it, it would be drastic, but you would turn the money back. Yeah. But I wouldn't expect to see that happen. I think our community's got a pretty good history, and I think we put our shoulder into it. You know, we raised $1 million for the catwalk, and you can't have a hamburger in the catwalk, but you can in this building. So I think we'd get some strong community support for a campaign on this, and maybe Karen may consider chairing this. I don't know. We're going to have to work on her.
Okay. Any further discussion?
All right, Karen.
Ashley, would you call the roll, please?
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay, I think we've got the new business item would be item M that I pulled off of the consent agenda. And I only pulled it because I got a note from John Martin that said, I'm going to read it. It says, Mayor, I noticed that the library's request to use the Lynn Sherwood Stadium on Thursday, July 21st for a sea shanty concert featuring the musical duo The Stapletons is on the agenda for Monday's meeting. Since there was no recommendation to waive or reduce fees, I am requesting fees be waived. This concert is a 1-hour free family event to celebrate children and adults participating in the library's summer reading program, The Grand Adventure. The setting along the waterfront is perfect for sea shanties, and we anticipate drawing an audience of up to 200 to enjoy music along the waterfront. The library is paying the performers $400. The total amount of city fees to use the stadium would cost us about $800. The library serves the same taxpayers and residents as the city and have not previously been charged these fees. I respectfully request a waiver of the $800. So the $800 he's talking about, $500 park rental, $175 electric, $25 park permit, and $100 application fee. It says other planned outdoor events sponsored by the library will be taking place in Robinson and Grand Haven townships, and those townships have generously waived their fees. So there wasn't a recommendation on any of these that I saw on the consent agenda, Pat, about fees or fee waivers. So, Shar, have you got background on what's been done before for the?
Can I ask a question, Your Honor?
Yep.
I noticed, and Emily, you may know the answer to this, I noticed when you gave us all of the detail regarding the millage that there's a permanent millage for
the library.
Yes,
there certainly is.
And that is from the taxpayers in order to support the library. I guess if the charges that we have very real fees of $175 of our labor out of our general fund, I'm just not sure we should be waiving some of those fees. So I guess with that, Shar.
Sure. I am trying to follow the direction that I believe that council has given me in regards to the cost of fees. I was under the understanding that all of the events that were recurring that we've been approving, we were going to continue through the season because event organizers had been planning. And I also thought I was directed to charge the costs that are actually on the fee schedule. So that's what I have been doing. Anybody that's come forward with a new application, I have been giving them a cost estimate of that of that event based on how it's been submitted.
Is this new or recurring?
This one's new.
New, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And in practice, John is correct. We have not charged them in the past for events.
For other events?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you charged them anything, or just not charged them the park rental fee?
They have never been charged.
Anything, like you don't charge them for electricity and don't charge them for?
Not even the application fee?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna say, I would do the same thing this year as we've done in the past, but it sounds like there might be other views on this subject.
Is there a motion yet on the floor on this?
There
Yes.
is a motion, yes.
Well, you pulled it off, Your Honor. I think you have to amend it to say waive fees if you want us to,
Yes,
because it doesn't say that here.
okay.
I don't know that we have a motion or a seconder.
I think you may be right. So, does anyone want to make a motion to waive the fees?
I'll make a motion to waive the fees.
And is there a second for it?
It's for the kids and everybody else down there, it's only 1 hour.
So the motion is to approve the event.
Approve the event.
And waive all fees?
I think what I would say is
with
waive
fee
the
waiver.
park rental fee, Mike. If you do you want to waive all fees or the park rental fee?
Oh, the park rental fees for sure. I mean, but what is it, $25 for electric?
$175
$175.
for electric.
We negotiated with the guy down there for having his
We
down
sure
there.
did, for a guy who was
I'm willing to waive all fees.
So that's the motion, to waive all fees, and I'll second that motion. Even though I know that's unusual, it is allowed. And it sounds like, Karen, you have a different view.
Well, I guess I do, I don't know, I'm just a little confused by the fact that the library has a permanent millage to support all kinds of things. I'm not concerned much about the park rental fee as I am about our actual, any actual labor involved in, that means the electrical and any kind of setup, I guess.
Okay.
Those other
So
labor-based.
That's their operational fees. It's like every other place else, like a school gets for operations too, you know? That's for them to operate the library. You ever see have you looked at their budget? We get it,
The library?
yes.
I don't think we have to approve it.
From my perspective, it's
just the library.
It's a reading program for our school children with our library, so I would waive these fees, but, and we can vote on it, and that's fine.
Do we know what the Parks and Rec Board recommended? I guess they would be in line with you, Shar,
We
what you were...
asked the Parks and Rec Board not to recommend about
any
fees
fees.
anymore.
Oh, right.
They did recommend approval of the event.
Right.
Yeah.
with-
But
without
you
comment
did,
on the fees.
Shar, if I understand, you did what we had instructed you, and you're right, for all new events, you provided John with these estimates, and then he came back with this request, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we would be handling this consistent with, if we did not waive the fees, we'd be handling it consistent with the way we had directed you and the way you have been handling all new events, correct?
That's how I understand it, yeah.
Well, we waived the fees for the disc jockey who came through 2 weeks ago, so, who had significantly less,
At a business.
street credibility for good of the community, so I wouldn't say that, I think that basically what we have before us is a request to waive fees, much like his request was to waive the fees. And his was a new event, as is this. So I don't think we would be acting inconsistently with our somewhat erratic policy on these fees going forward if we were to waive these fees. But I'm willing to take it to a vote and people can make their decision.
Low?
You know, I've always taken the position that we're pretty much gonna waive the fees this year, and then we're gonna have a real discussion of where we're gonna move next year. And so, you know, at this point in time, for the library I would waive the fees.
We
But
call-
don't, not again. Next year's a whole different world.
Will you call the roll, please, Ashley?
Low,
I'm sorry, are we voting?
We're voting on waiving the fees.
Oh, so are we haven't done a vote.
Approving the event.
Voting on the
We have
amendment.
to amend the resolution first,
Yes, that's what
correct?
we're voting on first.
Yes,
That's
so
what we're voting on.
we're voting on to amend the resolution to
Waive the fees.
waive the fees. So Low, yes.
comments?
I don't think we even had an initial motion on the table.
Mike made a motion and I seconded it.
Yeah.
Yes.
To approve and waive, that's not an amendment, that was your initial motion, so there's no amendment.
Okay, then we'll just vote on that then.
Well,
Right.
we never had, there wasn't,
Motion on the floor yet. So your motion that you put on the floor was to approve
slow
it.
down.
but-
There was never a motion. The motion was to approve the event and waive the fees.
Correct.
So it doesn't need
So
amending.
this is not an amendment.
You're correct.
So I just want to make
I
sure
agree.
that,
Oh,
So we're voting on we pulled it off the consent agenda, and we're voting on it as a specific item, and the motion is to approve the event and waive the fees.
correct.
There we go, then we're voting on that.
Thank you, Ryan.
Don't matter.
Please call the roll, Ashley,
Okay, I'll restart that.
and start over.
Low,
no.
comments?
Yes.
Laughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right. Moving on. City council reports?
I think I'll start, so.
Mike, you gonna start?
Sure, I don't care.
You
Why
always
not?
start,
I'll
you
go
know?
for it. Happened to go to the open house they had over at Harding Energy. It was their international headquarters. They had what they did to the building, which is right on Taylor Street there. It's unbelievable. I mean, well, they had the same guy that did all the murals and stuff that's on the trestles and trains down in Muskegon there, came in and did their weight room in there, their workout room. It's what a great place to work. It even has showers when you get in there. They have separate showers. You go in there, you can change your clothes and work out and do what you want. They're worldwide. They got a place in China. They got another place. They got 3 businesses going, and this is their international headquarters. They wanted to be here in Grand Haven because they want to be able to take their clients out to the beach and show them what Lake Michigan looks like, and then show them what Grand Haven is all about. It was a fantastic thing to do. And I also want to say thank you to the Rotary and the Jeep Fest together. It was a fantastic.
Jeep. Did we hear who won the Jeep?
Guy named Steve.
Yeah, Steve Knight, I think it's.
Nice.
Yep, when.
I couldn't win it.
Well, yeah.
And drove home? Nice. I'm
No,
sorry.
he couldn't drive it home yet because they had to fill all the paperwork out and pay taxes on it and everything. But anyways, when they called him, he says, "Yeah, Steve, this is Kevin calling." He goes, from the Rotary, he goes, "Oh, don't tell me I won the Jeep." He goes, "Well, I'm telling you, you won." He goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I ever won anything." You know,
Nice.
it was good, but a good event. It was a lot of people down there, and they sold all their tickets, which was great, 750 tickets. Fantastic fundraiser for a beautiful cause. That's what the Rotary does, is for helping people, just like the Eagles, helping people and doing what's good for the community and stuff. So we're very fortunate to have them here in our community, and all the hard workers are there. And I got to say thank you to Mr. McGinnis, because I was told that you brought in over 50 people since you've been here. You brought in over 50 people into the Rotary. So in and out, they've been in and out all the time. So I want to say a pat on your back, Pat, because that is a great organization.
And I have applications for any of you that would like to consider joining. Always recruiting.
Also, I did have I had a constituent call me about the sand at the beach again. I know it's going out to the pier. If you're in a wheelchair, if you got a baby in a stroller, it's really hard to get through there. Is there anything we can do to work together with the state park? Because I know it comes out, we usually do that all the time, but it'd be nice if the state park could kind of work together with us and keep that clear for everybody to get out there.
Boardwalk, Mike?
Yes, as you walk out there, if you're walking through there, as soon as you get past our boardwalk and get out into the state park area, which is actually government owned, the state says they don't want to do it, and then we've been cleaning it for years. But it'd be nice if they're there, they would be nice, something they could do. They got a tractor right there, they can do that every once in a while, just drag it in there and pull the sand out of there. Also, I'm still back on that fiber optic washouts and stuff, and I still got the one on 3rd Street, which is a sewer drain, actually. A big hole. If you go around the corner, you'll see it there. It's on the northeast corner, 3rd and Clinton. You can't miss that one. But if I walked over by Central Park, you'll see the washout where all these fiber optic things are. We get a heavy rain, and they're not compacted right, and it's been washing out, and there's big holes. People are going to get hurt. So make sure that they follow up on that, Pat. Thank you.
Okay.
And also, I want to say thank you to the guys for getting out there with that. I know he had a water main break, but I think it was it's back pressures and stuff like that. And our systems are old. We had a washout on the hill a few years back, and it was 100-year-old pipe. It goes up to our water tower, and it bursted. So things are going to happen. We live on a sand dune. They move. You always wonder why pipes break sometimes. We're living on a dune here, and dunes all move, and pipes are moving a little bit in there, and we end up having some older structures, but we are working at it. We've got millions of dollars into this system, and we've got a plan, and we're working at it. We can't just jump at one thing right away and get away from our plan, but we have to maintain it and take care of them. And I want to say thank you to DPW for getting out there. It was right up the hill from me there, and I went up there and watched them a few times, and it wasn't just one, it was two. It was just crazy, but it worked. Those guys do fantastic work. It's so nice that we have a cross-trained guys that can go from first shift to second shift and just not skip a beat, which is really good for us. It's very efficient. I want to say thank you to them, Pat. Tell them thank you for all their hard work out there. And that's what I got. Oh, by the way, Cabrera did hit another home run, but not tonight, but the other day. So
nice.
So we're on a roll. I had to say something about the Tigers.
I want to congratulate and wish both Grand Haven High School and the Lakeshore Middle School that participated in the National Science Olympiad, and I guess it's supposed to hear on Wednesday if they won. That's a great achievement for those two schools, and a shout out to former Mayor Manetza, who has been an integral part of that for many, many years, and I want to thank him publicly for that. Something I had a constituent give me a call the other day about, kids on bikes and skateboards on the sidewalks in downtown, and how they can. I think we have to watch for that. I think our police force has to watch for that, because they seem to be going down the sidewalks at a pretty good clip, and somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt, and I think it's something we should pay attention to.
Okay. Karen?
I've got nothing this evening.
Right? Good. Okay. I had a couple things. I got an email from Mackenzie, who's on our staff, that said that she's had some problem recruiting pastors for the meeting invocations. She's run through the usual suspects more than once. So I basically told her I would discuss it with council members in my mayor's report, see whether any council members know of any clergy that haven't been tapped. We might be able, I said, I don't think the priest at St. Pat's, Father Chuck, has been hit, and I will call him. But I think that anybody who's listening, if you know a clergy member who's willing to volunteer to do a Monday night invocation, please have them call City Hall or me, the mayor, Kathy McNally. So, and then
I have some names for you. I'll get them to you.
You got some names? Okay, good. I am looking for a volunteer from this August body, not including Kevin because he's already on this commission, but I need an alternate for the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission, which it's the executive committee. It meets once a month. I go to it regularly. It's really not a lot of work, but they've asked me to identify an elected, if possible, alternate who would, they're usually once a month meetings, 1:30 p.m. And you can think about it, but I know, I hate to say it, Karen, but these guys work during the day, so if you would consider being an alternate, we can nominate you as such at another meeting. I know of one meeting I'll miss this year, but I think otherwise I'll probably have the things covered. So maybe you would consider that. That's all I got. Pat?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did just need to check with you about something that's near and dear to our heart, is our city calendar. And each year we spend around $10,000 on actually the printing and distribution of that, and then you can, more than double that to account for the staff time we put into it. It's quite an expensive undertaking, and it's involved. We're happy to continue doing it, but I thought if there were a year that we wanted to talk about it, this might be it. We're very tight with our budget, and we've talked about maybe making some, cutting some of the things we want to do and don't have to do. So I talked to Mary about it. Mary in my office is the one that really cranks it out every year. She really puts in a ton of effort. So before she got rolling on it too much, I said, let me talk to city council about it and see if this is time. I spoke with the mayor about it, and she said we ought to have a full group discussion. So I don't know how you guys feel. We're kind of in a groove. I think you saw in your packet there, I just kind of copied the front pages. Some we've done beautiful homes where we had a competition. Everybody submit a picture of your remodeled home. We've done people's pets. We've done the churches. We've done industry. We've done the parks. We've done a naturalist edition. Last year we did sheds. And it's not that we're getting hard up. We just thought that was kind of a cool concept, accessory buildings. And we got 12 really neat accessory buildings and kind of had some fun with it. The proposal this year is to do, the Human Resources Commission would like to highlight each month where there's when it's a designated month of, that, or, recognizing maybe some diversity in our community, maybe new entrants to America, people who've moved here from somewhere else, or they would come up with 12 different topics for the 12 months. So before we get launched in that, I just wanted to bring it by here and say, is it time to put the calendar to bed? You all should have gotten it this last year. I hope you did. Mine's hanging in the kitchen and in my office. So I don't know if you think it's something that has run its course or if you want to keep doing it.
I'd like to hear from Mike, because you're the one who knows the most about the use of the calendar.
There's a lot of use for that calendar. A lot of people ask me, they come in, they ask me what goes on. I said, you did get a calendar, because it has all a list of all the events and stuff that's happening for everybody, so they can at least be aware of what's going on, because a lot of people don't have the internet, still don't have the internet. I mean, some of the older people don't know how to operate it, to find out what's going on, and some don't even get a paper, but they get that calendar and they look at it, and they can at least see what the events are that's happening around, which is nice. We gave away, we have to discuss it later, the $21,000, but it's $10,000 plus staff time. But it's been a good thing for us. As far as you get out to our older people that are sitting at home, they know they get recognized of what's going on and where to go and what meetings we're having, to be able to listen. It's informational. It's very informational. Plus it's got our numbers on there for them to get a hold of us. It's got everything else for anybody who wants to get a hold of anybody in all the departments. There's a ton of work that goes. The first one that came out was a lot of work, and as it goes on, there's still a lot of work, but not nearly as much, because it's kind of like a set pattern she does. But there's still a lot of things to add to it. If we had more events, it goes in there, as long as they promote it and send it to Mary. But I think it's a good asset for us, yeah, I really do. I think it's very useful.
How about you, Ryan?
Given our budget constraints, I'd be fine with cutting it out if there was, every year, at least on our website, they put, all their boards and commissions. There's like a one-pager that shows when they all meet and the meeting dates for the year, and that, maybe that could go in a water bill or something like that, where folks could, and maybe include on the back the department numbers and elected official numbers and emails, something that gets them the information they're still after and has been beneficial, but maybe is a little more cost-effective. That'd be my thought.
Karen?
Right, I think I brought this up at the budget meeting, because I did see that it was $10,000 just on the printing and the mailing, and that didn't include all of the labor that, I think it is a very cool thing. I do wonder if in this year that we asked all of the department heads to, sharpen their pencils and we eliminated a lot of things, whether it might be something that we forego this year and instead publish a monthly calendar online that's updated with everything that can be, downloaded and printed as an alternative for this year as we start to look at other revenue sources. But I agree with Mike that it's a beautiful tradition to carry forward. I just wonder if we want to suspend it for this year just as a show of, austerity, correct.
Kevin?
I guess I have to agree with Karen and Ryan.
Okay.
I think from an austerity standpoint.
I think it's a valuable tool for people who don't have internet connectivity.
Absolutely.
But I bow to the will of the majority. I don't think we need a resolution for it. I think you got your answer, Pat. You
I do. Thank you very much.
Yep.
That was very helpful. The other thing I wanted to point out is your fun annual commitment at the Memorial Day Parade.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to this. And it's 2 weeks, so I didn't want to hit you with it next week. Chris Strang will be reaching out to you as he does every year with a very clear communication about expectations. 10 a.m. at Waterfront Stadium there'll be chairs there for each of you if you want to go and sit. It's about a 45-minute ceremonial presentation at the stadium, and don't want to jinx it by talking about the weather, but I just did. But I knocked on wood, so we should be okay. But it's usually a beautiful day, and it's very well attended, hundreds of people. And if you want to participate in the whole array of activities, I'll get you a better list. But Sunday night at 6 p.m., there's a memorial service at Covenant Life Church. And then Monday morning, 8 a.m. is breakfast at the American Legion. You're all invited to go have breakfast at the Legion. Then between 9 and 9:15, they're going to line up. They're going down Franklin this year because we'll have the road blocked off in that first block. So this year it's going to come right down Franklin. So I think I might be down there walking up and down and telling people, get over to Franklin, that's where the
you're
parade.
sending the parades down my street, and I'm claiming it because I became mayor, so.
There you go. Well, make sure you put your flag out. Yeah, you want to have your flag out.
Had route change just for her.
10 a.m. Waterfront Stadium, and if you want to go along after that, they go to the Eternal Flame and they do a nice ceremony there. And then from the Eternal Flame, they go on out to the Grand Army of the Republic lot at Lake Forest Cemetery, and they do another beautiful presentation there. And by about noon, it's all done. And we're going to hopefully talk to Harbor Trans, we'll find a way to get trolleys involved so that we can get some of the veterans conveniently moved around.
They go from the Waterfront Stadium to the Eternal Flame?
Yep.
Okay, and
Then they
there's
go-
remarks there as well?
Yes.
And then they go to, I think I've seen them, I've actually seen both pieces, but different Memorial Days. So then they go to the cemetery?
Yes.
Okay.
And the mayor is asked to give a 3-minute welcome at the stadium.
Okay, good to know.
So I just thought I would share that information. Yeah, good to know instead of that morning, So, yeah, that's about it. I got that from Chris Strang today, and that's always very well attended. I think usually they got the hooligans fly over, and
Yes.
it's quite an event. It'll pull at your heartstrings a little bit, and that's all I have this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. It's the second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address, will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers. Okay, I think we're going to announce this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.